We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hey there. We at Blue Wire wanted to thank you for your continued support of this podcast. With over 90 podcasts across our network, we are committed to bringing you great content to fill that sports-shaped hole in your heart. To find more Blue Wire pods, search for us on iTunes or check out BlueWirePods.com. And remember, one day sports will return and it will be glorious. Thanks for listening. On to the show.
Welcome to the Golden Bearcast, a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. This podcast is brought to you by Bet Online and Blue Chew.
And welcome, everybody. I hope that wasn't too loud. This is the first of a historic event forced by the current situation that we're in and a general sense of boredom to the first ever, probably not annual, Cal Rivals versus Right for California mock draft covering the last decade of Cal football, where myself and my partner, Namle, will face off against Rob and Andy and draft a team of Cal players from the last decade of football to face off against each other, hypothetically, and potentially in video game form. We haven't decided that yet. Anyhow, I will let everybody else introduce themselves.
That should be you now.
Awkward pause.
Yeah, because you're the second guy.
All right. Awkward pause goes here as we all look at each other and try to figure out who talks next. All right, Trace, that was a fantastic, beautiful introduction. Since I'm the one who usually handles the introduction stuff on our pod, I'm glad to have been thrown over to. I think everybody knows who I am. So, hi, I'm Nam. Rob.
Hi, I'm Rob, one of the hosts of the Golden Bearcast. What a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Friends, football, drafts. It's funny how we're doing this on the same weekend the NFL draft just ended too. So just some poetic justice there. But Andy.
Yeah, that's me, the other co-host of the Golden Bearcast. And yes, hopefully this is more exciting than the NFL draft because I was so excited to have sports back, and that was so boring. But yeah, I'm super excited to talk some Cal football and relive the glory days. Not really. This is a rough decade. This is a really rough decade.
Yeah.
We have our moderator here today in our dear friend and the leader of Right for California, Avi. Avi, you're going to be our moderator for today. How are you feeling about being the moderator, and what do you think your duties are going to be for the day?
Just making sure that the trains are running on time. Hoping to put a dog up here to make sure that the commissioner is appropriately doing his duties. And yeah, hopefully you people will draft good old Travion Beck, unlike these 32 NFL teams who ignored him.
So just to give everyone a breakdown, it's just two teams picked, all players from the last decade, starting from 2010 up until 2019. It's an all 22 draft, so we'll have 26 rounds actually. We'll pick all players and then also 2 special team players. So that's all inclusive. And we don't know who the first round pick is, so we're gonna have our moderator commissioner.
Wait, are we going snake style, or is it just 1, 2, 1, 2?
I was thinking it was a snake draft.
Okay, cool.
We prepared it as a snake draft. So
okay.
yeah,
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah, standard fantasy football style snake draft. And none of us know who has the number 1 overall pick. I was going to leave it to Avi to either toss a coin or do something to figure that out for us. So, Avi, if you have that, please flip a coin. I'm going to give Rivals the opportunity to call it, and then we'll go from there.
All right, Captain Trace, call it in the air.
Wait,
let's go ahead.
This is a good moment to say that this coin toss is sponsored by Bet Online.
There you go. Product placement.
Okay.
Let's call heads.
That was so beautiful and professional. Well done, Andy.
It is. Where's the heads? Can you see? I'm having trouble putting it. It's a heads.
All right, Trace.
Never even saw the coin get tossed.
His bandwidth is so low right now. No, your bandwidth is so low right now that you're like chopping in, and I'm like seeing your hand just like cradle this coin.
Yeah. It's like
we could do a link or something.
We're good.
Like
We're good.
Donkey Kong 64 up in here.
That's fine. Yeah. So I believe that's Rivals with the
Andy,
first pick.
Wait, Andy. I want to defer. I want us to go second. Or sorry, Trace.
Wait,
I want to go second.
Yeah, we'll defer.
We'll defer.
We'll defer?
We're gonna give the first pick overall to Right for California.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
That's fine.
We're ready. The pick
Rob,
is
can you
in.
send me the sheet? Rob, I need the sheet to.
Jesus
record the
Christ, Commissioner Avi! Like,
I don't have a sheet.
Avi, I sent it to you twice now.
Could just pull up an Excel file. That would work. Or a Word document.
I emailed it to you twice.
Okay, give me.
values here.
I will also put it in the chat of our current room.
Give me 30 seconds.
Our pick is in.
Wait, you guys
Just
already.
So you guys know, it's like when ESPN says the pick is in, except it takes 45 minutes after they say the pick is in for them to actually announce it. But our pick is in.
Rob, did we announce this is all decade draft, right? We announced all that.
Yes.
Stuff.
Yes, Avi. Okay. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think Andy and I have already decided our number 1 overall pick. So I'm gonna let Andy do the honors with our first pick.
And a drum roll, please. Shane Vereen.
Oh.
Oh wow!
Never, man, nor myself expected that.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! We had run several draft scenarios in which you guys got the number 1 pick, and okay.
All right,
go.
Andy, you want to walk us through the rationale there?
Do I?
Sure, we can give a short spiel of why we picked.
Does Bill Belichick have to get walked through his rationale to draft a potentially alt-right kicker? No.
All right. Well,
that's our pick.
Your pick. Okay.
Wait, do you guys actually want commentary? We can provide a little bit of commentary.
Okay.
I mean, it's good for a podcast, right?
Yeah, rather than just saying out names. Andy, you can give like a 2 or 3 sentence spiel on why we picked Shane.
I think that I can't really say too much right now because it actually has to do with a greater overall strategy. So from the perspective of just what we like about Shane, he's a bell cow running back, and running backs in college football are super valuable in comparison to the NFL where they don't really matter that much. and his stats in college were ridiculous. And he's far and away the best running back of the last decade. And I don't even think anyone comes close. So just like top of the class. And obviously now he's a reporter, which doesn't matter at all. But we're pretty confident he's going to dominate in the video game. So we're excited to have him on the team.
All right. I'm going to do one pick, and Trace will do the other pick as we go into numbers for our first and second round picks. All right. So with the number 2 overall pick in the first in a lifetime decade Cal draft, Team Rivals selects Cameron Jordan.
Wow.
We felt that Jordan's positional value and just successful pro career, whether or not that's factored in, we just think that his talent, production, body size, positional scarcity also factored into this. Very happy to headline our class with Mr. Jordan. Throwing it over to Trace now for our second pick.
All right.
Oh, wait a second. You guys get 2 in a row? Oh.
Yeah, it's a snake.
We're going snake style.
That's why I'm
Andy, did you not realize that before you drafted Shane?
I was wondering. No, I'm totally happy with that. But I was wondering when you guys were talking about snake. I was like, there's 2. I thought we were just picking as a group. I didn't realize each of us got individual picks.
Gotcha.
I'm here. I'm with it. I'm not on Nam's level, but let's go.
All right, Trace, go ahead.
And with the 3rd overall pick in the 2020 crossover draft of the decade,
we're just gonna call it
lifetime.
different. We're gonna call it different names every time.
Yeah, something like that. The Cal Rivals side selects from Friday's draft picks, Mr. Ashton Davis, Santa Cruz, California.
Trace, you have to tell them why we picked Ashton Davis.
Similar reasons to why we picked Cam Jordan. There's a positional scarcity at the safety position. Ashton is the best of the last decade at the position, and he can also return kicks and stuff, which is nice. But yeah, one of the best defensive players of the last decade. So,
excellent choice, if I do say so myself.
Well, considering it was your pick, yes.
This is much more exciting than the NFL draft at this point. I can say that much. All right. Right for Cal on the clock.
They're mulling over their draft boards silently.
We've got them right where we want them.
Now the deep thinking begins.
You're up, right, Rob?
I forget. Do we want a running clock?
I was gonna let you take this one.
No, because I did the first one, so you're up.
Okay.
That's fine. With the 4th overall selection in the all-decade Cal draft, right for California selects wide receiver Keenan Allen.
All right.
Arguably the best.
Oh no, he froze.
He just said arguably the best.
The best. Cook? Artist?
That's all you needed.
An integral part of why the Tedford teams even succeeded under the quarterbacking of his family relative, Mr. Zach Maynard. So, yeah, we select Keenan Allen. Then I give it to Andy to select our next pick.
Beautiful. Oh, that was beautiful, but I think no one heard it.
We got half.
That's fine.
Okay. Offense versus defense to start. Time for the 3rd round.
With whatever selection it is in the spectacular draft.
We're only at 5, and you've already forgotten what number it is. Like, we're not even in the teens.
We take offensive lineman Mitchell Schwartz.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Oh no, has Andy lost?
It's all offense for Cal.
I have no idea. This is the most low budget production just because we're trying to juggle 5 dudes on a call right now. And I'm trying to find my phone so I can text my fellow GM during this. All right,
Yeah.
Trace,
Is that
just
why
check your DMs.
you were looking in the freezer?
No, I was getting ice to make a drink.
Andy, give me your GM answer on Mitchell. Why do you think he was the 5th pick here?
Well, we
You're
got to
very
get some
professional.
lanes. We got to get some lanes for Shane to run through. Mitch was, I think he started every year, or like I think he played every single year when he was in college, and is pretty high and third rounder, right, Rob?
Yeah, he was
To
the
the Chiefs.
highest. He was the highest offensive lineman pick that Cal's had in the last 10 years.
Second round.
Overall, good dude.
Super Bowl champ.
Yep.
Super Bowl champ.
Good cook.
Yeah, right now, Right for Cal has 2 Super Bowl champs and team rivals to 0.
Hey,
Well, that's not Cam Jordan's fault. That's everybody else's fault.
the referees.
With pick number 4 in the draft, we are going to go with Jared Goff. We were honestly expecting that one of you guys would have drafted him by this point. We are going to take Jared Goff at 4. It was either going to be 4 or 5, so we'll give him the lofty status of being our. Wait, is this the 5th pick? No, this is the 5th pick. Okay, Jared Goff will be our first selection, and then Trace will come at you with the 2nd pick.
Okay, with the 7th overall pick in the 2020 crossover draft extravaganza spectacular superstar thingy-mabob, Cal Rivals team selects Marvin Jones.
Woo!
Etiwanda, California.
So what we're really thinking here is we wanted an accomplished receiver with size, pairs really nicely with Jared Goff, and also would have been kind of like a fan fiction kind of thing if he had been able to hang around long enough. Now we get to imagine it in our brains. Throwing it back over to you guys.
Not that kind of fan fiction.
And with the next pick for us, the Right for California team selects offensive lineman Brian Schwenke.
Schwenke
was the next highest draft round pick for the Bears out of the offensive line over the last 10 years. And now we have 2 solid offensive linemen to blow running lanes open for Shane Vereen. And I toss it to my co-host for our next selection.
Just a quick note, Right for California now has 4 offensive players and no defense. So, and surprisingly, none of those players play for Sonny Dykes.
Let's keep that trend going. All right. With our next pick, we select linebacker Michael Kendricks.
This is some good value here. We expected Kendricks to probably have gone a little bit earlier than this.
Yeah, we had him in the 5th round in our draft pool, and he landed right to us. So we're happy with the pick. We're happy with what he provides, and just his skill set to dominate for us in the middle of the field on our defense and just anchor it. We toss to you guys.
All right, Trace, you go first. I will take the second one here. You're muted. Trace, you are still muted on the call right now.
Sorry. I
Go
am
ahead.
unawares. Okay. Let's see, where are we? With the 10th overall selection in the 2020 crossover thing, whatever it is we're doing right now, Cal Rivals selects Stephen Moore, offensive lineman.
Ah.
Ooh.
Well,
thought he was the second best tackle prospect of the last decade or so. Just good run blocker, fantastic beard for one, and just one of the higher points of the Sonny Dykes era on the offensive line.
Great pick, if I do say so myself. And it brings me tremendous joy to be the person to tell you that the next pick on behalf of team rivals is going to be inside linebacker Devontae Downs.
Oh, of course.
Not only because I spent 4 years of my life telling you that he would be a good player, and then watching him surge into the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year lead for 6 games, but we felt that with what we wanted in the middle linebacker position, what we expected that you guys might do given the draft pool, we wanted as much speed and athleticism as possible on the field, so we are taking Devontae Downs.
Good pick. He was going to be next on our draft board.
Andy and I are currently deliberating within our texting chat room right now on who we want to move on to.
Has everything gone according to plan for both of you guys, for both of your teams?
Andy, we can talk about that at the half. We can kind of talk about that at the halfway.
No,
not whatsoever. But in a much better way, I think I would say.
Andy, you want to take one? I'll take the next one.
No, you go first. It's your turn.
All right. With the next pick in the All-Decade Draft, the Right for California team selects linebacker Evan Weaver. It speaks for itself. Was just drafted by the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. Led the nation in tackling. Is within, I think, the top handful in career tackles and pretty much all tackling stats at Cal across the board. We now have inside linebackers in Michael Kendricks and Evan Weaver to solidify the middle of the defense, and we feel totally comfortable with that.
we have a pretty nasty linebacker core on this side. Kendricks and Weaver in the same backfield is kind of intense.
It's downright terrifying.
Is that both your guys' picks? Are we up?
No, we have one more.
Andy's turn.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
So
all right.
Just to provide some context, Right for Cal needs a quarterback, and they need some defense.
Okay. We are going to continue our trend, and we are going to draft Pat McCarry, O-line. And now we will just run the football 100% of the time and use Keenan as a decoy. Very expensive decoy.
Team Right for Cal going straight Stanford with their approach here.
Interesting.
I need some tight ends now.
Yeah. All right. Can I take this next one for us?
Absolutely.
Okay, with give me a moment, 14th overall pick in the 2020 the Cal Rivals team selects inside linebacker Mike Muhammad out of Brawley, California.
We really like Mike here just as a field general alongside Devontae Downs. Gives you good athleticism and all-rounding as the strategy for Right for California becomes more apparent. We wanted guys who would be real useful in both phases of the game. I have to admit that in our pre-draft conversations, we were expecting you guys to be a little bit more wide receiver heavy, but if the strategy right now is to build around Vereen, I think that having a smart guy like Mike Muhammad out there, who's now an investment banker, I believe, in New York,
New York City,
is and a former big game hero. We are happy to add his accomplishments to the team.
Also, the last player that Justin Wilcox recruited at Cal the first time around.
Wow. What a factoid. What a note. Great job, Trace.
If we were ESPN, we'd be saying that everybody in his family died right about now.
All right.
And now, Nam, with our second pick of this portion.
In keeping with the emergent strategies that are happening right now, Team Cal Rivals is, and we didn't clear this pick, Trey, so you're just going to have to trust me. Team Cal Rivals is going to select the most promising defensive tackle of a generation. We want Brett Johnson. We are taking Brett Johnson with this pick. We believe that the best is yet to come with him, but even his freshman season is one of the most impressive accomplishments. You're playing one of the most difficult positions on the defense. We've received news that, in the future they may move him around, but just we can slot him anywhere alongside Cam Jordan. We are very happy to add Brett Johnson to the roster. Brett Johnson!
Yes, and his name's in caps.
It comes back to us, and
It's
once
bold,
again,
I like it.
Once again, my co-owner and I were discussing who our next our strategy is, and I believe the pick is in. And with the next selection in the all-decade Cal draft, the Right for California team selects cornerback Cam Bynum.
First cornerback off the board.
I think Bynum speaks for himself. We wanted a lockdown corner, especially with Jared Goff on their side. We need at least one guy that can lock down either a quarter of the field or just lock down any wide receiver. And we feel like we have our guy now. So that was our pick. And I toss it to Andy for our second pick of the round.
Sticking with that trend, go with a former cornerback, now safety, Chris Connie. We like Chris a lot.
Wow.
I think that having Chris Connie and Cam Bynum, I like Connie at safety, definitely right up there with Ashton. And 4-year starter, just really solid pro career. Really happy to get him at we thought he would have been gone 4 picks ago, so we're really excited to get him here.
Fun fact here is that Andy, Chris, and I were all the same year. In 2000, we were all freshmen in 2007 at Cal, so we're picking our classmate here.
Speaking of classmates, Team Cal Rivals, Jalen Hawkins, who is going to be our next pick, is the last Cal athlete that I directly taught. Him and Trey Turner were in a summer bridge class with myself the last year before I left for Los Angeles, and we are happy to announce the new Atlanta Falcon, but also the newest member of Team Cal Rivals, Jalen Hawkins, safety.
And
Your
then
safeties are good.
Comes to me at the, let's see, where are we? 21st overall pick in the 2020 Cal decade draft. I have a burp somewhere in here that I'm trying to hold back right now. At that position, we select one of the best recruiting interviews I've done at center, Mr. Mike Safell.
Good pick. Great pick. Great pick.
One of the smartest guys that you'll have on a football field. One of the funniest guys you'll have on a football field. You need that. You need a good center, especially with the offense that we're planning to run, probably. All right, and the deliberation continues on the other side.
Yeah,
Rafi,
once again,
as we give some time to Rob and Andy to scramble wildly in the war room, what are you thinking so far as you moderate this whole thing? Anything that surprised you so far as an impartial third party?
Well, Brett Johnson being drafted before Chris Conte was not something I expected. Also, I was not expecting Jared Goff to drop. I was not expecting the number 1 draft pick in the NFL to drop to the 3rd round in our Cal draft. Considering the other options at quarterback. And yeah, I think the big thing I'm interested in is seems like no wide receivers outside of Keenan and Marvin have been taken. So I'm interested to see like what the passing strategy is going to be like for both of your teams. Since it sounds like you're not going to draft more than 1 running back or 2. It's going to be 2 running backs or 1.
We have 2 down on our thing here.
with that, the Right for California team has to find a way to get to Jared Goff. So we select linebacker Cameron Good as our outside linebacker to get some pass rush
Objection!
on the quarterback.
Objection! You can't take my child! Objection! Judge,
I don't know how you
do something about this.
Should have
How
taken
did
him
you let
earlier.
that happen? How did you let that happen, Nam?
I don't know how you let that happen. Andy?
Oh, yes. One of my favorite players ever, actually. Love the hair and the family ties. Mr. James Looney.
Yeah, he was our highest rated tackle guy that we had on our board. We actually had him pinned as somewhere between the 6th and 7th round, but he fell to us here, I believe, in the 9th, 10th actually, or 11th. So we're happy he was there to help us just anchor that defensive line, and we're liking it so far.
Okay, Nam, do you want to get this
The
next
lineman
one?
taken. Right.
Sorry, I'm just reeling from my emotional distress of Cam Good being taken off the board. The best pass rush. Why am I doing promo on your behalf? Whatever. Okay. With that being said, Cal Rivals is going to select our second wide receiver off the board, bringing just a tremendous amount of attitude, swag, and defeating Texas into the team. We are going to select Mr. Horns Down himself, wide receiver Chad Hansen.
This was one of the guys that I really wanted just because I think Hansen's 2016 season is as good as almost any receiver who's been at Cal. Just mammoth production. He was the guy. He came out of absolutely nowhere. He had fantastic touchdown celebrations, but that doesn't really affect how he played. He was just excellent at what he does. And one point when we did their draft prep was pointing out the Utah game, where there was that big of a disparity between Cal ran 49 plays, Utah ran almost double that. Cal won because of 4 explosive plays, and half of those were Hansen's, and they were tough, contested plays. Something he also did against Texas, too. So we're doing that. And with the second pick of our 2020 whatnot, this Primony, we're at 20. Wait, can I count? 23? 23rd pick of this draft, Ely. The Cal Rivals team selects at cornerback the greatest hitter of his position, Mr. Elijah Hicks.
Despite internet rumors to the contrary, we feel that Mr. Hicks's skills in run support are just some of the best that have come through here in the last decade, no matter what idiots on the internet might say. Given the strategy that Right for California seems to be heading towards, we think that he is going to be just a big hitter and gives us some positional flexibility if we want to move around.
Just looking at Cal Rivals, his team is very defensive oriented to start. So yeah, it looks like I'm not sure what your offensive strategy is quite yet, but I guess we'll figure that out pretty soon.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We're just finalizing our pick selection. And
do.
the pick is in with the 12th selection for the Right for California team in this all-decade draft. The Right for California team selects Will Craig, offensive lineman. His pedigree speaks for itself at this point, too. I think the reasons we're taking Craig here is kind of the same reasons that the Rivals team took Brett Johnson so early. Granted, he's only played 2 years, but he's, arguably one of the best offensive linemen that we've recruited here, and looks like he's only going to get better as he seasons on. So we're solidifying our offensive line again, and we're happy with it. And they toss to Andy.
Okay. With the 13th pick for Right for California, we are going to complete our quarterbacks with the selection of Stevie Too Cool Williams. Stevie is one of the better cornerbacks that I think we've had, definitely in this decade. Was unbelievably fast and really solid on the outside. So we're super excited to get him here. I think 4 rounds after we thought he'd be gone. So welcome to the team, Stevie. Stoked to have you.
I will cede this pick to Nam.
I have long past lost numbers in the Cal Right extravaganza.
26th.
Again, we are just, since there's no official name, I am enjoying the bit of just making up names as we go along and then calling it the wrong thing each time. We are going to select Jordan Kunnath. We feel that given the run-heavy direction, we have pivoted in our draft strategy. We're going to move Devontae Downs to the outside linebacker position. We think that having Kunnath, Muhammad, and Downs, we have some of the best leaders aware in terms of awareness, play recognition, and general disruptiveness that we have. I mean, who among us can forget Jordan's key pick in overtime against Oregon, not to mention his general work in run support alongside Evan Weaver. Really happy to add such a smart, heady player here, and somebody who really has been just a great development job over the last decade or so. Trace.
And with the 27th overall pick in the Cal Rivals Decade Draftapalooza, the Cal Rivals, I mean, it's both of us, but we are part of it. But the Cal Rivals team selects the pride of Larkspur, California, Redwood High School's own Jake Curhan.
And as we're talking about notable Redwood High alumni, Trace, do you know anybody else who might have graduated from there?
Well, we have this one dude, Robin Williams, for one. Let's see, Pete Carroll, and myself.
Nobody can see this, but I flashed Trace.
Yeah, no one can see the thumbs up
for taking the bait here. All right. Those are our 2 picks. We are throwing it back over to you guys.
Well, we're just deliberating our final picks here.
You have 13 more picks to go.
Yeah. Okay. With the next selection in the All-decade draft, round 14. The Right for California team selects Demetrius Robertson, arguably the fastest wide receiver that we have seen play at Memorial Stadium. We didn't think he would last this long, but he's still there, and we're excited to pair him up with Keenan Allen.
Now,
I'm mad. I'm actually mad.
Yeah.
That's if you're just talking about like on paper stat. I mean, whether like we're gonna play these games potentially in the video game where Demetrius Robertson like will have tremendous value. So like I'm mad that plays really well in a simulation. From an on-field standpoint, obviously D-Rob didn't have as much impact as any of us would have wanted. But damn, that's smart. I'm actually mad right now. Damn.
And like 30 picks in, and finally gets our strategy.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck it. I have an idea for the next one. We're allowed to curse.
Yeah. I toss it to Andy for our next pick.
Wait, did we decide?
Yeah. What?
Check your text.
I did. The last message you sent. You're good.
All right, we're gonna finish our O line with Jordan Rigsby.
And with that selection, I think outside of Will Craig, and we think he will probably be playing in the NFL come in a few years, our entire offensive line will be guys that have had experience playing at the next level. So we're extremely happy with our lineup at offensive line.
All right. So given the need for our team to be run sound behind 5 offensive linemen and Shane Vereen, and also whatever field stretchers you want to throw on the outside. I've always felt that this dude is actually like wildly underrated in these conversations because it was such a dark time in Cal football history towards the end of the Tedford era. But I think we shouldn't sleep on our next pick, cornerback Mark Anthony, one of the best guys just out there on the edge. We're really happy to have him. I think what we're assembling in the defensive backfield is just a bunch of guys who are fast, but also physical, effective against the run. And hopefully, whether that is in the written arguments that we write after this or in any sort of debate or in any sort of video game simulation, fingers crossed that is enough. Trace Travers, what do we have on our other side?
Well, you're going to have to trust me on this pick as well, because I am going a little differently from what we may have hoped for here. I am going to go on the offensive line, a multi-year starter at guard, Chris Barillo.
Wow.
Nice.
Big Chris here, add some physicality. We wanted Jordan Rigsby, but that was taken on maybe a little bit earlier than we would have wanted or hoped for ideally. But we feel that those are comparable players, and we are happy to have massive Mount Barreo on the team.
We now take a second to hear from our sponsors. With currently no NBA, NHL, or MLB, you might think there's nothing to bet on, but you'd be wrong. Our exclusive partner BetOnline still has hundreds of events, games, and props to wager on. From their online casino to poker and blackjack, they're bringing Vegas to you. Missing the NFL? Not a problem. BetOnline has live daily Madden to NFL 20 simulations that you can bet on. You can still bet on Survivor, Big Brother, American Idol, stock prices, and even the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. All open 24 hours a day and all online. Go to betonline.ag and use promo code BLUEWIRE to join today and receive your welcome bonus. BetOnline, your online wagering solution. Guys, Looking to last longer and go a few extra rounds? Get to BlueChew.com. BlueChew.com has the first ever chewable that brings your performance in the bedroom to another level. They've got the same active ingredients that are in Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. And since they're chewable, they work even faster. You can take them anytime, night or day, even on a full stomach. Plus, you don't need to go to the doctor's office or spend time waiting in the pharmacy line. Blue Chew's online physician is free of cost, and once approved, your order ships straight to your door in discreet packaging. Here's a great deal for you guys. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first order free when you use promo code BLUEWIRE. Just pay the $5 shipping. Again, that's BLUEChew.com, promo code BLUEWIRE. We now return to the all-decade draft featuring Cal Rivals.
Sorry, we are deliberating once again. This is taking as the draft goes on, it's taking a lot longer to figure out our picks.
Just to be clear, right, for California, you still need a quarterback, you need a running back, and you need a lot of defensive linemen.
We have a running back.
I'm furiously.
Yeah, I
sending
guess
text.
it's optional to have two.
I'm furiously
Cal
sending
Rivals
text
needs a running
messages.
back. Cal Rivals needs a running back. They need some defensive linemen, and you all need punters and kickers.
A lot of awkward dead air here.
Yeah.
Point out.
Sorry, we're still trying to figure out our draft pick.
Here, I can. Yeah.
I can totally
You guys
see why
still figuring it out?
I can totally see why these things take a lot longer than you think if you have people and you have to like deliberate. But yeah,
Just looking at this draft board, Trace and Nam, while Rob is deliberating. What do you guys? Is there anything that surprised you from the first 30 picks or so in terms of like order?
Well, we didn't think to have D-Rob on our board because he never really, he transferred in the middle.
The man has all of 800 career yards that came in one season.
Right.
I'm sorry if this mean, but he doesn't even have half that number yet at Georgia. So it was somewhat surprising to us, although a stroke of genius if you're thinking about this in the video game simulation terms.
Well, I mean, just to be on the opposite side of this, we considered everyone on the roster who's played. So like our consideration for D-Rob was the same with like Brett Johnson or Will Craig, regardless of how many years they played here. Just their skill set and what they provided during those said years is why we picked it. Because I mean, ultimately, we talked about the video game stuff, so that definitely played a big part.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess Brendan Bigelow's coming off the board anytime, right?
And I think we're almost finalized with our picks.
Are you
here.
spying on my document somehow? Are you in me and Trace? Are you affiliated with the NSA? Yes, Brendan Bigelow is on our board. So what?
Are there any players that you've noticed that haven't? Well, I guess I can't do that because you're not gonna tell me. Anyway.
I can tell you we do have a draftable grade on Brendan Bigelow, with the 12th offensive player spot.
All right,
it gives us some flexibility.
Andy, we're good, right?
Yeah.
Good. All right. With our next selection, the pick is in. With our next selection, we decided to finally focus on our defensive line after taking James Looney back in the 11th. We select Chris Palmer. We wanted another guy who could eat up some guards and maybe a center in the middle. And I think we have our bowling ball in there, and we can shift Looney a little bit to the outside and give him some fun pass rushing Jared Goff. I tossed to Andy for our next pick.
So I didn't expect us to go with this pick, but here we are. We are going to officially draft Trevor Davis. Very excited to have Trevor Davis on our team. I feel like he is one of the more dynamic receivers that have played here, and also as a kick returner. So someone that can play on all over the field. But if you haven't noticed by now,
fired because of his special teams play. Like,
yeah,
you got to give the man props for that.
Yeah, exactly. And the theme is speed for us on the outside. So excited.
All right. That's both your guys' picks.
Yeah.
As we start looking to finish up our own defensive line, we want some size, and since I have always thought Brett Johnson is more of a natural end, we are going to draft DeAndre Biggie Coleman to kind of help man the middle and give us some flexibility in how we line up all the defensive guys. So that brings us to a defensive line rotation of Cam Jordan, Brett Johnson, and DeAndre Coleman. Trace with our second
Biggie
pick.
was always a favorite of mine. I remember the Davis game in 2010 where he used the Davis left tackle to force a tackle for loss on the running back by pushing him back 5 yards. And I thought he was an excellent player while he was there. Massive human being. But with the, where are we? 18 times 2. 35th overall pick in the 2020 Cal something or other draft. The Cal Rivals team selects the pride of San Luis Obispo, Mr. Patrick Laird. I apologize for whoever's weed whacking right outside my garage.
It's a good pick.
Second running back off the board. You guys agree that Laird is the second best running back in this draft?
That is what we had.
We had Laird at 2. What we notice is in the last decade of Cal running backs, the top guys are basically 3 down backs who are going to play substantially most of the time. Will have an impact in the pass game. Obviously, Vereen is a step ahead, maybe of Laird, but not so much that we didn't feel like we were. Not so much so ahead that we felt pressed to draft a running back earlier. We here at Cal Rivals don't place a high emphasis on the position, although we know that it is important.
Sorry, we are delivering on one more pick.
I'm good. Yeah. Let's do what I said.
Yeah. Okay. With the next selection, we believe that you guys have done an outstanding job at solidifying your defensive line. I don't think we have enough depth there from our all-decade team for us to try and make up for that. So we're going to the backside. We're filling out more linebackers to kind of either go pass rush or drop into coverage to cover Jared Goff. So we are selecting linebacker Chris McCain.
Oh, I like this.
I called him the McCain pain train of pain.
Yeah, and with that selection, our linebacker core of Michael Kendricks, Evan Weaver, Cameron Good, and Chris McCain, you will have no idea what's coming towards you.
That is the nastiest group of linebackers I can imagine from this decade together.
And I toss it to Andy for our next selection.
I think we're coming close to finishing up on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to do that with. Wait, hold on. Give me a second. Yeah. We're going to do that with Richard Rodgers, tight end.
Yeah, on our draft board, Richard Rodgers was our top-rated tight end over the last decade. He pretty much
the only tight end of the last decade, if you we're really being technical.
Well, yeah. I mean, Anthony Miller was there too. I think Anthony Miller actually had the best size out of the entire group as like an actual tight end who blocked and received. But I think stat-wise, just didn't compare to Richard Rodgers and his threat as a pass-catching tight end. And also was at the at the end of Tedford's tenure here, so he did pick up a lot of those pass blocking skills, and we believe he was the best available tight end and gives us the biggest threat in the run game and in the pass game. So that's why we selected Richard Rodgers.
I would say there's been a bit of a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
You guys drafted Chris McCain. We are going to draft a guy who I've often compared to Chris McCain, and we are going to play him in his true and natural position now that he is 245 pounds. On the outside, we are going to take former 4-star JUCO transfer. Honestly, I think we got better value than you in getting this pick. We are going to let Coin Dang and play him in his actual spot as outside linebacker. Independence Community College.
Here's the one fatal flaw in that logic is we're going to run this game based off of where they are today, and I don't know if those stats will be as favorable.
He weighs 240 pounds as of right. That's what he's listed on the Cal website, which is also really big, right? For any hopes of us moving forward, like in the real football. I think that's one of the benchmarks, right? Like milestones of the offseason is having him get to a real inside linebacker weight. Hopefully we do have a season, but in any case, Coin Dang, Trace.
And with the 39th, or hold on, am I? No, I'm not muted anymore. With the 39th pick of the 2020 Snake Cal Metal Gear Solid draft, Cal Rivals selects the man with the triple XL hands, Mr. Kenny Lawler.
Oh, that was beautiful. The man with the triple XL hands.
They don't pay me aggressively mediocre for nothing.
That is a wrestling nickname if I ever heard one. Good job, Trace.
Woo! And that completes our wide receiver group. We have size, we have technical ability, we have swag, and we have speed.
Poor Bryce Treggs.
Surprisingly, Bryce is not off the board yet for either team. I was expecting him to have gone before Trevor Davis, honestly.
Sorry, we're deliberating on one more pick here.
The team Rivals. There's a quarterback that needs to be drafted. If you were in, who do you think is the second best quarterback left on the board?
We feel very confident that the second pick is going to be Chase Garbers. If it is Davis Webb, that would be the other guy who's in contention here. But we think that Davis's one season here at Cal is on the inconsistent side. If you think about the San Diego State game, among others,
that game sucked.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like you would have kind of too much inconsistency. So I'm expecting them to go Chase Garbers here or Davis Webb. If they reach any deeper than that, I would be stunned. But we have Chase Garbers at 2.
Sorry. This is, as I said, the later it gets in the draft, we're having more discussions because the draft didn't necessarily fall the way we expected it to fall. So we're having to change up some of our draft strategy towards the end. And
we're doing it on the fly.
Yeah.
More questions for team Rivals then. Are you planning on taking a second running back? The answer is unclear.
Sorry, I'm in like 4 different like spreadsheets right now. Are we planning on taking a second running back? Well, the way that we have the draft set up is 11 offensive players, right? Plus a 12th person for flex. So if the opportunity presents itself, we're not against running backs. We just felt like there weren't really distinct tiers of running backs that really required that much jump up in investment, right? Like if we're doing this for the 2000s, like Marshawn Lynch, and then the step down from Marshawn Lynch is probably much more significant than the step down from Vereen to the next best back.
Yeah, it actually wouldn't be too bad in the 2000s because you have Javed, you have Vereen,
True.
obviously, you have Forsett in there, but Marshawn is the best. You have J.J. Arrington, who rushed for 2,000 freaking yards, which
would have been our sneak pick, probably.
Yeah,
It
would have. It definitely would have. But it's going to depend on how the rest of this unfolds for us. So,
as we think about our second pick, I believe we do have our first pick solidified.
Yeah, we do. Go for it.
Yeah. Our first pick our pick in the 20th round of the all-decade draft. The Right for California team selects defensive lineman Austin Clark.
are you trying to recruit the less?
I cannot say that I had that one anywhere. I am stunned. Although that will give you a big leg up in any recruiting battles that we would have head to head.
Now with the Miami Dolphins, for what it's worth. So,
as D-line coach,
I believe so, or linebackers or something. He may be like one of those assistant defensive line coaches that are in vogue now.
Yeah, we're just figuring out our final pick for this, or our pick in the 21st round.
Dan, were you expecting other defensive linemen to come off the board first?
So I think we're late enough in the draft where I can share with you. So at least on the Cal rival side, we had the defensive ends slotted out as Cam Jordan, Trevor Guyton, James Looney, who kind of could go end or tackle. We have Zionde Johnson, Ernest Owusu, Tevin Paul, and Kyle Cragen, and that was as deep as we thought the pool needed to go. At defensive tackle, we had DeAndre Coleman, Brett Johnson, so we're ecstatic to be able to get both of them. And then in the third tier down, we had Palmer,
Derek
Hill, who Trace has had to remind me of his existence like 4 times because it's like right before the time period where I became a writer and started following the team closely, and Luke Beckett. So I wouldn't say that Austin Clark is undraftable, but I think it's really hard to evaluate him because he was basically manning the nose at 5'11" at a time in which Cal had almost no defensive talent around him, so it made him a really hard evaluation for us.
He was all Pac-12, or he was a honorable mention for all Pac-12 his senior year.
Yeah. But, so it slipped our minds, and that's just how we looked at it. So it surprised us.
But Derek Hill, poor guy, had the worst knees in the world, and was like so clear that he would never play beyond. I think he had multiple knee surgeries. He's never going to play. I'm sure he can't walk. Like he has troubles with his knees today just from playing college football. But he was so good at times for those Tedford teams. Super, super good. All right. With the 21st pick for the Right for California blog in the spectacular draft of 2020 of the 2010s to 2020 football teams, we will take Nico Remigio. Good Lord. And
I demand that you call him by his proper name. Nico never dropped a pass in his entire life.
Okay, so you guys have.
Do you guys have another pick after this?
Yeah, I'm just trying to wait. You guys are gonna go with 4 wide receivers and a tight end.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
There's 4 picks left for us.
Yeah, you got 4 picks left.
Or we have 6 picks left, I think.
Yeah, because we have to take a punter and kicker as well. So.
Oh yeah, you have 5, so 3 picks left, other than kicker and punter.
Yeah.
Wait.
Are we up now? Are we on the clock?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are on the clock. But
All right.
just to confirm, how many total picks are we doing?
We have 12 on offense, so you're starting 11, whatever that looks like, plus a flex player. You're starting 11 on defense plus a flex player, so that's 24, and then kicker, punter.
Okay, so 26 total.
26, yeah. Okay, so as we start rounding out our team here, we're thinking about positional flexibility. We are going to call upon Mr. Flex himself, playing multiple positions in his time under Sonny Dykes. Is he a tight end? Is he a wide receiver? Nobody knows, but we are going to take Mr. Steven Anderson.
Mr. Super Bowl champion, Steven Anderson.
That's right. We got some rings on our side, too.
Steven, get a ring?
We are going to deliberate on our second pick for a moment because I want to confirm one thing.
Oh, hooray, we get questions now.
Yeah, we get to talk.
All right, Abby, what's on your mind?
Yeah, it's an interesting team you have put together. I'm interested to see if you guys are thinking of going to. You guys want to have a D team that's more stopping the pass. You only have 3 defensive backs at this point. So I guess the question is, are you going to run more of a nickel, or are you going to kind of like run a basic formation, 3-4-4?
I think we're deliberating that right now. We're looking at our defensive lineup, seeing that we have 4 linebackers and we have 3 defensive linemen. Granted, guys like Chris McCain or even Cam Good could play on the edge. So it's kind of like how the current Cal team plays with an outside linebacker as slightly that wild card. We're looking at our defensive board, or defensive backfield board, and just trying to figure out who else would fit the mold here. But yeah, that's definitely something that we're looking at drafting moving forward.
All right, I believe our pick is in. So with the 43rd pick in the 2010, 2019, 2020 draftaganza thing, we are going wild card, picking out of Texas, Mr. McCade Metoyer, a brick wall of a human being.
This is a guy who not only this is a projection, granted, but McCade Metoyer popped off to me as the scout guy for Cal. Took receipts on Metoyer, just vicious, nasty. I think by the time he's done playing here, he'll be one of the top guards in the last decade plus. I expect him to outproduce, like the likes of Jordan Rigsby and maybe Chris Barreo. Stepped into a really hard job. I'm not trying to say that he had a perfect year this year as a true freshman, but we really like what we're getting from him. We like his aggressiveness. We like his frame that he started with, and we are very happy to nab him this late. I think great upside pick.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have gone with 3 players who have only played in 2019. So aiming for the upside with Deng, Metoyer, and Johnson. I'm not sure, like the way the video game is being set up, how would their rank? Would it be their freshman rankings that would be used, or would it be the projected sophomore rankings?
We have honestly like no idea, right? Like that's going to depend on a variety of things and how Dallas wants to balance the game or not. But we just felt like the alternative was either Matire or the likes of, Matt Summers, Gavin, who was a solid player, but, is not going to move the needle, right? Like if we're going to hold this in the court of public opinion, we wanted a chance for people to kind of notice our players for the impact that they've had on the field, whether that is one season or over the course of their career. And we feel very comfortable with the strategy that we have proceeded with. I don't know if you wanted to chime in further on this topic.
That's an interesting point because I think we've been under the assumption that the game, like our strategy, revolves a lot around how the game would actually play out, which is why we focus so much on getting guys like D-Rob or like Chris McCain, and it's sort of like foregoing the court of public opinion a little bit and making those picks that are a little bit more favorable to what it would be at. But I would assume that it would be based off of their like no more than the last season that would have been played. But obviously, who knows how that's going to go. But it's a good pick.
All right, I think that brings it to your guys' last two picks, and then our last two picks, and then we would be doing kicker punters. But who knows? Maybe you want to go with a Brian Anger here. You guys
wait. We should have.
We have 3 picks left.
3 picks before kicker punter.
Yeah.
All right, take it away.
With our next pick in the all-decade draft, the Right for California selects defensive lineman Luke Beckett. We think he's a great addition to our defensive line, and we're just trying to hold basically the offensive lineman at bay, and that is our selection here to round out our defensive line.
Okay.
Give it to Andy.
All right, and then we're going to finish up with our last DB. Mr. Went to the draft too early, Cam Jackson.
Cam Jackson, he of the most memorable three interception game of Brett Huntley in 2012. My high watermark as a student. We didn't have a lot of great football games when I was in attendance at Cal, but that would have to be the highlight. Great pick.
Sadly, that was the high watermark of my Cal student experience as well.
Tough.
Yeah.
All right. Coming back to our side, we have just the two picks left, and then we're heading to kicker, and punter. So we had alluded to this earlier, but our speed player of choice, how you guys are using Demetrius Robertson, we were planning to put out in the running back position, and I think we all know, we all look on his career with some, I don't want to say bitterness, that's too strong, but some wondering about what could have been if we had been able to find a spot for him and just a play set that would have worked for him. We want the hero of the Ohio State visit, Mr. Brennan Bigelow.
Wow. I was there. That was an amazing play. Amazing moment in time.
4 carries, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a total inability to learn the playbook. Tough.
We just want him from that game and no others. Just that one.
Just the one Brennan Bigelow game. All right.
All right, and with the second pick of that, let's see, where are we? Pick number 47 of this illustrious Draft-A-Palooza-a-thon-atude. We select the nickelback, Mr. Travion Beck.
We promised that he wasn't going to go undrafted. Granted, he is not maybe the best possible pick that we could have put here, knowing that you guys have kind of a run-heavy strategy. But we felt like what he is going to contribute in terms of intangibles and just general playmaking, chaotic ability. You will not find a guy who loves Cal more than him, who's a better representative of Cal more than him. And we're happy to have him. and it gives us kind of some options in the nickel set if we want to try to run that on the outside.
Great pick. All right. Well, let me just say we are so excited for this pick. Oh, I have text messages from my co-GM.
I just wanted clarification on who our pick was. Okay.
As if there was any question.
I just wanted to
you guys
double
don't
check.
have a quarterback, so I'd assume
I
that.
just wanted to double check. Our selection here for our final skill position player is, of course, quarterback. He basically needs no introduction. He's a friend of ours, and we went to Cal together at the same time. Our quarterback for the California team is Kevin Riley.
Oh, yeah.
Top 10 career in most and all passing stats in Cal history. Once again, our draft board was based on what they had done at Cal, not what they're going to do. And because those stats are usually how you base off of a video game. So we have Kevin Riley as our starting quarterback of the Radford, California team. And
you can tell there's a clear generational divide. Like Rob and Andy are like a couple years older than me and Trace, and you can basically tell that their draft board strategy, guys who they admire, is very much grounded in the years that they got. And Trace and I had no good years in which we were attending Cal football wise, so we had to kind of scramble and go around that. Okay, that's a huge shocker. We didn't even consider somebody might draft Kevin Riley. You guys have one more pick. Go ahead.
I guess with our next selection, we take kicker Matt Anderson.
Ooh,
Matty Ice as our kicker. We toss it to you guys.
All right. Trace, I have to be honest with you. We didn't prepare kicker or punter
Yeah, let me
all?
send you a message. I know who we're going to pick.
Okay, so you already know. You're just okay.
That's why I thought it was over.
I was like, okay, we have two picks left, right? So
yes, we have two.
All right. We are going to take the number one punter drafted in the NFL way too early, but you know what? We will take it. The clear cream of the crop when it comes to the punter position, Mr. Anger Smash, Brian Anger, will be joining Team Cal Rivals.
And to follow up with whatever pick it is now, let's see. Let me scroll down. With the 51st pick in the 2020, whatever the hell this is, draft, the Cal Rivals team selects the Italian stallion from Moraga, California, Giorgio Tavecchio.
Had several cups of coffee in the NFL. We really like what we are getting here in the specialist position. And I think, you'll probably ask us about our overall draft in a second, but you guys have one more, and the honor.
Can I tell my Giorgio story?
Absolutely.
Giorgio came over to my dorm room as a freshman. I lived with a long snapper, so this wasn't an unusual occurrence. Told us to turn on our TV to some public access show, which I can only describe as just half-drunk white people dancing. I still have no clue what the hell it was. I'm still very confused, but he thought it was hilarious. So that will be my Giorgio Tavecchio memory.
And
one of the nicest humans you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And with our final pick, I'm gonna give it
extremely relevant. Mr. Extremely Relevant.
Yeah. Our final pick. I'll leave it to Andy to introduce our final pick.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with who needs no introduction, we will go ahead and take Mr. Cole Leininger, punter. And that concludes the draft.
Yeah, Jared Goff's body double for the last one.
All right. So I don't know how you wanted to go about this, Avi. Do you have any thoughts on both teams in their completed format?
Yeah. Just looking at these drafts, I see a Bear Raid offense on one side. I see a very traditional Tedford offense on the other side. And then on defense, it looks like a pretty even distribution of Pendergast and Wilcox. So it seems like it's going to come down to the offensive styles in terms of who's going to win this one. I'd like to hear Rob and Andy's thoughts on their quarterback selection as to why Kevin Riley was the pick over Chase Garbers or Davis Webb.
Yeah, I can start with that. I think it matters. Two things matter here. One is like the context in which we're picking, which I think is for a video game. And I would make the case that if it's for a video game that's like looking back, that Riley coming in as a starter for as long as he was, and someone that was 19-12 and had a ton of passing yards, touchdowns, like is in the top 10 in like at least 5 different categories of the all-time quarterbacks to ever play at Cal, was still going to grade higher than a one-year Davis Webb or where Chase Garbers is today. Chase Garbers could be more valuable long-term, but we don't even know if there's going to be a football season this season. So it felt like, to me, that Riley was the clear number 2 behind Jared, and that people forget, like, because we've been doing all these watchbacks and so we rewatched the big game of 2009, and like just watching Riley play in that game, it's like, people kind of remember him for the Oregon State and that's it. And then we're just like, oh, the Riley era. But like, he had moments of greatness, and then he had moments where he would kind of disappear. But overall, like, his stats look better at first glance than where Chase has been at. So it's like, from a statistical perspective, we sort of felt like it was an easy decision to make. And knowing that Goff wasn't, if Goff had slipped, we said that we would take him, but we were looking at him maybe moving beyond the 5th or 6th pick in order for us to actually make that move, because we felt so secure with Riley, which is kind of how we ended up deciding to go running back number 1, is we felt like the drop off between Shane and Patrick Laird was actually really significant. And so that's sort of to go full circle into the decision there. It's like, a lot of our decisions behind quarterback actually influenced, okay, where can we go where we believe we're finding the most value? And that's why we looked at Shane.
Yeah, we looked at this from a very fantasy football type of situation where Jared Goff was clear and above the number 1 tier at the quarterback position. But beyond him, we kind of had Riley, Chase, and Davis Webb all graded at that next level right behind him. That if the other team ended up taking Jared like they did, for us, we didn't need to take a quarterback till the very end, because we knew they wouldn't be taking 2 quarterbacks in just a situation like this. And we
never
were more
know.
than happy.
We could have clearly done like a A11 type Taysom Hill type of thing. Anything is on the table, Rob.
Which is perfectly fine, because there were still 3 quarterbacks left that we had graded the same. So if you had taken one of them, we would have just taken one out of the other 2. So we were perfectly fine with leaving our quarterback selection to the end. And then in between there, taking a lot of the higher skill position players. We also had Cam Jordan as our number 2 pick. But, we're extremely happy that we have arguably the 2 best skill position players to play at Cal in this last decade, in Shane Vereen and Keenan Allen. Yeah,
we didn't expect to get Keenan. We thought we could do Shane plus Cam, and then basically build out a Tedford style team. and then Keenan fell on our laps, and we're like, all right, we got to go Keenan. And that was probably the biggest surprise outside of Michael Kendricks, I'd say.
Trace, Ashton Davis, I think that was your pick. Why Ashton over Chris Conte?
Just preference. Honestly, I like Ashton Speed better than I like Chris. I also don't. This is a character concern. No, it's not fair to say that. But I once saw Chris Conti accidentally throw a. I didn't see him do this actually. My dad did throw a bottle of I think it was the body armor drink into the bucket that they use for peeing in during games, and then pull it out. So don't want none of that.
A body
Wow.
armor?
Yeah,
Like
like
the pad?
like a Gatorade bottle type deal. Throwing it in there, thinking it was a trash can.
Well, hey, at least he pulled it out.
Oh my gosh.
I suppose that's true. Just as we're wrapping up on our side, I think we didn't expect maybe the draft to go the way that it did, but what we were prepared for and what we were thinking is like, okay, when we ran through the scenarios, we figured Jared might go early, and then when he didn't go at 1, and he didn't go after our second series of picks, we were like, okay, he's sitting a little bit long. We probably may have been able to wait one more series of picks, but what we were envisioning is the talent pool is the deepest at receiver, so we're going to pick the receivers that we like. But the talent pool is very shallow at defensive line and defensive back. So that's where we were going to try to prioritize. And then when it became more obvious that we were going to need bodies against the run and also some speed, we kind of had to vary throughout the draft. But we had Ashton Davis graded very high. We think that his concerns against the run are kind of overblown. I think he wasn't able to show his true physicality because I've always thought that he got injured on the first series of the year and never looked right the rest of the way, except with a couple of exceptions, Oregon this year being one example. But at least on my end, I'm very happy with how the draft turned out on our side. Trace, I don't know if you want to end up with any other thoughts here as our GM.
I think we got the best offensive player in the draft and the best defensive player in the draft. That's all I have to say about that.
I noticed that you have only one defensive end.
Well,
We were playing
our
Brett Johnson
strategy.
at defensive end.
Yeah, we're playing Brett Johnson at defensive end. We are in a true like kind of 3-4 alignment. We'll play Biggie at the nose, and we'll play Cam Jordan and Brett Johnson as our ends. And then we have 4 linebackers that I think we can mix and match in any variety. And so do you guys, But what we were really excited about before the draft is we figured you guys wouldn't think of drafting Coin Dang to play the outside. And knowing that you have Richard Rodgers on the roster and knowing that Coin Dang is up to 240 pounds, I thought that that was a risk that was worth taking to project him outside.
Yeah, I think
Rob, Andy. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Rob,
No.
Andy. So,
Go ahead.
yeah, you have one safety in Conti. Who's going to be your second safety against Jared Goff?
We're going to put Cam Jackson there.
You're going to put
Right.
Cam Jackson at safety?
I think that was our original plan. Yeah.
Yeah. I think right now we have Cam Jackson at safety, but I think we could also play Cam Bynum at safety too. I mean, he's mentioned that he's, played it in practice and done that too. So I think we could easily move around our DBs to whatever fits. I mean, our strength on defense is our linebacker. And when we were grading this draft too a couple days ago, we did the same thing that Nam and Trace did. The depth at defensive line was just so small, and it lacked that. Cam Jordan was like easily above and beyond the best guy, and there was a huge drop off after that. So Cam Jordan was also one of the guys we were expecting to, or we wanted to take. So yeah, I think both teams kind of just figured out where the strengths of the rosters were over the last 10 years, where the weaknesses were. We kind of went after it the same way. It's just the other positions, we just kind of went about it differently. And I mean, our defensive backfield might be a little shallow, but our linebacking core is arguably, there's no question. Like if you fielded that team at even now, that's still like the best linebacking core you might have in the entire country. So Yeah, we're extremely happy with the team we selected.
And it's interesting because, like, you guys looked at D-line, but when we were looking at it, we were taking the same approach. But we felt like O-line was the area where you could really get hurt. And it's not a matter of, like, not having the overall numbers, but it was a matter of, like, the talent level we felt like really dropped off. So, like, the fact that we have an O-line of basically everyone that was able to make it into the NFL and some guys that are, like, some of the best offensive linemen we've had of the decade, we think plays right in the strength of just being able to kind of, like, dominate on that side of the football. So I think, so it was a weird thing. There's there's enough talent there to fill out a roster, but we felt like the discrepancy between the top versus some of the others was significant. And then, Demetrius Robertson was basically our coin dang. I don't think we expected you guys to look at him. But yeah, coin dang is a good pick. I think, like, other than that, the fact that we got Trevor Davis was as late as we did was a huge surprise. And I think getting James Looney where we did and Chris Connie where we did was a big surprise too. Looney's one of those guys, one of my favorite players to come through. He's just an absolute workhorse on the D-line. So our D-line is problematic, but definitely agree on the defensive back perspective. It was just sort of like, we have Cam Bynum, we have Chris Connie, Steve Williams. Stevie's so good. I just think, like, we have a lot of really, really solid guys. But pro style offense, I think, Trey, so, like, are you a fan of the air raid? Would you run an air raid offense with your team?
It's kind of what our logic behind it was. Hey, this is kind of what the players available over the last period of time have provided for us. So we'll mostly run 11 or 10 personnel for the entirety of the time. I kind of made the assumption with Steven Anderson that get his NFL size where he is able to play as an inline tight end. We had Jake Tonjes on our board as well, just in case it came to that. But I'm a big fan of Steven Anderson. I remember Tony Franklin calling him the most important player of the team. And while that wasn't true, he was still important. So.
Yeah, I think one more thing from our side is just after Andy and I had our draft board figured out, like, I had a slight hesitation and a scare because I honestly thought Nam would approach this from a very video game angle, and Trace as well, because Trace has poured hours into those NCAA football games as well. And I thought they were going to value a lot of the statistics of, like, how that games or some of those games are broken, and use that as a basis of selecting guys. And so, that was my scare, because that's how kind of we formulated our draft board. And we were just like, what if they basically start taking our picks right before us, because we're thinking in the same vein. But it's actually really interesting how both teams' draft boards were similar, but at the same time, their draft strategy was just drastically different.
Awesome.
You're really going to break things as far as the NCAA games. We would have gone straight option offense, but honestly, the personnel that Cal has over the last decade really doesn't allow us to do that. So we're not doing that.
Malik Morris would have gone much higher.
We had a long conversation in one of those deliberations about should we go Malik, and we decided not to.
I believe it was right around round 16 or 17. We were just talking about who we should take, and Malik was on our radar.
Which players are you most upset did not, or which players did you expect to get drafted did not get drafted?
Travers.
Let's see.
Yep, big game hero.
Bryce Treggs didn't get a draft pick. That's tough. I was anticipating, both teams favoring a different set of wide receivers, I think.
Yeah, I think Chris Harper was on our original list somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And Treggs, but there's just so many guys there. It's deep. I think the big one for us would be Darius Allensworth. DA's, I I'm pretty surprised. And then like EC is a backup. Like if we were drafting more than one running back, like EC had a 1,300-yard season with like 10 plus touchdowns. I think we forget about that. And so I think he was one of the better folks. But maybe you could throw out CJ Anderson as well. But that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going down our wide receiver list. It's like Jeremy Ross, Chris Harper, Bryce Treggs, Darius Poe, Mo Harris, Kanawai Noah, Jordan Vesey, Stovall. Like, there were just a lot of guys there that had talent and produced while they were here, but just couldn't even sniff the draft board because there were just even more talented guys ahead of them.
Last question, and then we can wrap it up. Looking at the opponent's teams, Rob and Andy, Nam and Trace. What do you envision in terms of strengths and weaknesses? What are you most confident about? And what's going to give you some dreams and nightmares?
Well, I mean, on our end, Rob and Andy drafted some of the most talented offensive linemen that Cal has had over the last decade. But I think comparatively, at least in my mind, the strength of our defensive front seven between Biggie, Johnson, Cam Jordan, and then some of the run stuff and guys that we kind of pivoted to make sure that we drafted. I like to think that we would win the matchup against their offensive line, or at least have the edge kind of like in a 55-45 kind of way. So that's at least my evaluation on our end.
Yeah, I do think our defense is pretty strong considering. I think can run a 3-4 as well as anybody. You have guys who can stop the run, play the pass. Up front, you have guys who can play the pass on the back end. You have a versatile group of linebackers. I think the right for California teams, obviously, they said it's built around running the ball, and you have guys there in Schwartz and Schwenke who are probably the two best run blockers among the linemen of the last decade. You have obvious speed with D-Rob and Trevor Davis, and Keenan Allen's the best, probably one of the best route runners Cal football's ever seen. So there's something in that, and I think our defensive backfield that we've drafted can stymie that a bit. They're all good players. I don't think there isn't really a guy who I can point out and say, hey, I can't see a world where anyone takes him, because all of them are talented. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about them.
Andy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked about building a defensive team when we originally had our conversations. Like, let's dominate with a run first offense and then defense. And what we end up having is like elite linebackers, super elite linebackers, and really good wide receivers. So I think like looking at wide receivers, like to me, I think Marv and Demetrius ran. Marv was better about coming across over the field, and he's a better college receiver. But the way Demetrius is going to be rated favors us in a way where I feel like you can look at the three wide that we have and like say, are we going to beat someone through the air, or are we going to beat them through the ground? And you just don't know, because like that's how what our offense is geared to do. So I think from a multiple offense, like we would be pretty solid. But yeah, I think the D-line stuff for sure is concerning. But I don't know. I wasn't that high on DeAndre Coleman. I always felt like he kind of underperformed in college. And then from a linebacker's perspective, I think we get the edge. From the DB perspective, I think we're beaten in pretty significant way, at least on the top two, or with like Jalen and Ashton. But to echo what Trey said, like everyone here is super talented. It's like, okay, so I have to choose between like Marv Jones, one of my favorite people and wide receivers ever, versus like Keenan or Demetrius. It's like the match. But the matchup on paper will be really interesting, and deciding what we're going to do, and seeing if Cam Jackson is excited about his change in position to safety.
Yeah, I guess for me the last word, Andy pretty much said everything I needed to say. But the last word is, I'm honestly from a strength standpoint for us, I think it's clear. Our offense is going to be very, very multiple set heavy, and our O-line is, hands down, just superb. The thing that scares me, though, for our defense is if they decide to run any screen passes or any short passes, our defensive line definitely won't be able to pick that up, and it'll be based on our linebackers to be able to cover all of that space. I think we do have the speed to do it, but it still scares me if you're going to run screen passes to either Marvin or to Brendan, and it's going to be scary because that's how they're going to attack, and we're going to be so focused in on it. And then if Goff decides to take the top off and go over the top on us, it remains to be seen if they have the real foot speed at wide receiver to do that. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting matchup when we get to the simulation part of it.
Might be your opportunity to finally get Keenan Allen at safety.
Yeah,
maybe.
I didn't even consider that we would draft towards the eras, and we drafted so much more
Two-way
towards the
player.
era. But yeah, I think that's the most surprising thing for me was that we drafted so heavily towards the eras in which we either attended or got more invested. It just seemed skewed to those in a way that was really funny. I didn't expect that coming into it.
Yeah, if you look at the DB room, the Rivals guys have 3 out of the takers, whereas the Right for California, we have 3 out of the Tedford, great defenses. So you can clearly tell. But yeah, this was awesome. This was fun. Does anyone have any closing remarks before we close this thing out? Absolutely.
I was never
Yeah,
quite good at closing statements, but this is fun. I'm glad we got to do it. I wish I had brought more than one beer with me, but I think we drafted a good team, and I'm excited for the simulation.
Nam, anything?
No, I think Team Captain Trace said all we needed to say. Rob, go ahead and take us home.
All right. Well, I'll toss it back to Avi one more time just for his closing remarks of how he enjoyed watching us draft the team.
Yeah, I was really excited. Really excited to put this idea together and get you guys thinking of some fun ideas to do during quarantine. And obviously, this is all for the Cal fans out there who just waiting for this to end. So definitely want to. Hopefully, this will provide you with some fun entertainment, thinking about our best players of the decade. And yeah, I just want to thank Rob and Trace and Nam and Andy for all coming together and taking their pods, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of these collaborations going forward. And this might be a test run for the 2000s decade, which will be even more exciting, and I think probably one of the most entertaining fantasy drafts you can ever think of.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that one too, because I have some ideas.
Many ways you can go about that one.
And with that, we thank everyone for joining, and we send it off to our respective sign-offs.
And that is the end of the 2010s All-Decade Team Draft from Golden Bearcast featuring Cal Rivals. You can find all of our stuff on rightforcalifornia.com, and also, if you're listening to this podcast and you've already found us on your favorite podcast network. And with that, this was the Golden Bearcast, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and go Bears.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.